It's only about 5 miles from the beach where NASCAR began to Daytona International Speedway. Seagulls are a common sight, but in 1970, a more unusual type of wing was spotted by the more than 100,000 fans gathered for the 12th running of the Daytona 500. The Plymouth Superbird and the Dodge Daytona both sported a radical adjustable spoiler, and 23 entries chose to exploit the Mopar advantage. The more traditional Ford products were well represented too, and 1968 champion Cale Yarborough took the pole in a Mercury.
The pace car is off and the race is on.
As expected, Cale Yarborough jumps to the lead in his Mercury Cyclone, 2 Dodges fighting for second place. Bobby Isaac and Buddy Baker.
Notice the shifting of positions already as they go screaming through the turn. But car number 21, that Mercury Cyclone, with Cale Yarborough, has pulled off into a substantial lead as we begin the race. The 12th annual Daytona 500.
For the first time, the field was cut from 50 to 40 cars. Only 7 laps in, the first mechanical casualty occurred. And for the first time since the first 500 in 1959, Richard Petty's day ended early.
Tough break for the 2-time winner of the race here, and so early, the first car out. Will you take over for Pete Hamilton before the day is over?
No, I told him if his tongue's hanging out, he's still going to have to drive the car.
Petty Enterprises had a second car in the race, driven by Pete Hamilton. The King spent the rest of the day in Hamilton's pit, as he had when Lee Petty won that first Daytona 500 in 1959. Would the Petty pit magic hold? Cale Yarborough was running well. His Mercury easily kept up with the Winged Warriors.
Cale's been taking the high road, Keith. He may get by now. Oops, but Tiny gives him a little bit of stabilizer there.
It's kind of risky to get up there because you're getting close to the wall, and the air behind this new wing that they're using on some of the cars can be very fickle. But Cale Yarborough, if he is able to pick up the draft here, they'll slingshot right on by him. That's what he's going to try to do, going inside of him. Going into turn 3, he's got it. And the leader, Cale Yarborough's in trouble. Blue smoke pouring out of his car on front of the grandstand, and he's going to go out of the race. It looks like he fairly exploded an engine.
So that early lead meant nothing, as a blown engine ended the day for Cale Yarborough and the Wood Brothers entry. Charlie Glotzback took over for a stretch that turned into 26 laps. The Wings were dominating. Then another Ford tried to turn the tables. Glotzback had taken the lead from David Pearson. Now Pearson took it back.
He's trying the high side rather than the low side. Pearson's been going by on the bottom, but here he goes by on the top for a change.
And he gets the lead over Charlie Glotzback. So it is David Pearson, Charlie Glotzback, Richard Brooks, and Peter Hamilton in that order.
Pearson led 82 laps, far more than any other driver that day. His lead over Charlie Glotzback increased when Glotzback was black flagged for a mistake in the pits.
It was a routine pit stop, Keith. Here he is about 21 seconds into it, a right side tire change, and of course the usual refueling process. There, that 11-gallon can is held high, but the car comes down and is driven away, as you can see here, before anyone had a chance to put the gas cap on. He lights up the tires and drags down pit lane, and the attendant at the end of pit lane saw the cap dangling and ordered the black flag, which means he has to come in again.
And here he comes.
With 18 laps to go, David Pearson and Pete Hamilton were running 1 and 2 when Richard Brooks spun out with a blown engine. Both drivers pitted under caution. Pearson took left side rubber. Pete Hamilton changed on the right. Then Richard Petty made a fateful decision. On the next lap, he called his driver back in, and Hamilton now had new tires all around. As soon as the caution ended, Hamilton's advantage was clear.
Number 17 is Pearson. Number 40 is Hamilton. Hamilton is closing on the straight, closing steadily. He's taking the low groove going into the turn. Let's see if he can handle it going through the turn. It's a little tricky to go down low like that.
Boy, those new tires in that wing are really working for Hamilton here, firmly implanting that Plymouth on the track and allowing him to race like this with Pearson.
Here they come screaming down in front of the grandstand, traveling better than 180 miles an hour. They are wheel to wheel. Chris, they can reach out and shake hands with each other.
And this is what the 103,800 people paid to see. Stock car racing Southern style.
And I think every man, woman, and child is on their feet as Pete Hamilton goes into the lead.
It's 50-50. Half the crowd is for him, the other half for Pearson. The Chrysler Rooters and the Ford Rooters are really up now.
So, after all the talk of wings and aerodynamics, traction was the deciding factor.
Pearson is still close. He's right of the draft, and here he goes. He's taking his run at Pete Hamilton right here, going into turn number 3. Can he hold him?
He went very low there. Boy, oh boy, they're really at it now.
Oh, look out!
Pearson's in trouble.
He almost lost it. He almost lost it. David Pearson was out of shape, almost sideways. But he fought back. Tremendous strength, and the white flag is flying. Pete Hamilton has the lead, traveling at better than 186 miles an hour. A remarkable story for the young man from Massachusetts. And it appears that David Pearson has lost momentum, perhaps has lost the will to really try all out again, though I find that hard to believe because he is one of the great competitors in the history of NASCAR racing. We are watching two great competitors right here. Pete Hamilton in the petty blue Plymouth Superbird, leading and heading for the checkered flag. And David Pearson running right behind him, closing in to second place, and he'll hold that position, no question about it. And Pete Hamilton has won his first major NASCAR victory, the Daytona 500. David Pearson is second in a Ford, and Bobby Allison third in a Dodge.
Hey, the crew did a heck of a job, I'll tell you. These petty people, they're the best in the world, let me tell you. So is this Plymouth Superbird.
You sound happy.
I really am.